to the second lecture in Module 1, Technology and Presenting Content in Virtual Education. In this lecture, we're going to focus on two outcomes. First, we're going to discuss where and how to utilize emerging technologies for your content distribution in your virtual classes. We're going to talk about how to make sure that content is engaging and effective so that your students are acquiring the skills and the knowledge that you're hoping them to in your particular disciplines. And then two, we're going to explore the various types of content technologies available so that you can capitalize on this engaging content in the most effective way. So we're going to continue on with our assumption from the first lecture in this module, where we are assuming that you are committed to virtual education 100% at a distance with your students. And that you're also committed to making sure that that experience is as highly engaging and as highly effective as possible. We're going to add to that assumption, and we're going to say that you're already using a web page, or you're already using a learning management system or virtual learning environment where you're including links to documents and other electronic resources, flat ebooks, articles, websites, Wikipedia entries, and other written resources that your students may be utilizing. You know that's good, but you want to do better. You want to find more interactive, engaging, multimedia-rich content for your students to utilize. So how do you move beyond the electronic document? Well, before we talk about how, we should talk about why. And I think we all know some really important reasons why we want to use content beyond just electronically written content. First, we want to make sure our students are more engaged and more interested in the content we're presenting. Second, we know that this kind of content can help reinforce key concepts and even help students apply key concepts that we're teaching in our courses. We can use simulations to help students develop skills or the actual hands-on ability to accomplish the tasks that we set forth. And we can even give students, through this engaging and interactive content, opportunities to create their own content and contribute back to the larger body of knowledge in the particular disciplines. So when we think about engagement, does this look like our students behind their computer? If all we ask them to do is read document after document, it's just like putting them behind a book or putting them behind a lecture for 4 hours. It's as unengaging as any of those traditional methods that we've used in the past that we also know are unengaging. We also know that students are multitaskers. We talked about that in the first lecture of this module. Students are constantly doing multiple things. This is our millennial generation. They're socially interacting, they're reviewing websites, they're playing a simulation, they're looking at a book, all while eating lunch and talking to their friends. Well, if we know they're multitasking and we know they get bored very easily, we should think about the length or the duration of time spent on any given task, specifically with any individual piece of content. Now, there's a lot of research out there, and you can read about what attention span is for the varying ages, but generally the research says we have anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes max to capture attention of our students on any single task. So when we think about a piece of content that we want students to interact with, we want to make sure that, one, it's between 5 and 20 minutes long for them to participate in that content, and two, that we break up that experience as much as possible, similar to what we're doing in our lectures here, with images, with questions, and with short video segments. Now, what kind of content actually keeps us awake? The research has told us that students like video. And in fact, they like engaging and interesting video where people are telling real stories and applying the concepts that they're learning, these very theoretical ideas, to real life. This is a classic talk by Malcolm Gladwell about a World War II weapon that was created. But the way he discusses this story and the way he presents this information to students is incredibly engaging. And it's also short. This particular TED Talk only lasts about 12 minutes. We can also use audio or podcasts. iTunes U offers hundreds of thousands of free educational podcasts that students can listen to while then interacting or building content or multitasking. And this also helps engage their senses, as most of those podcasts are quite short and very focused and deliver in that storytelling manner. We can also have students interact with applications on their mobile devices or their tablets. This is an example of Science House. It's a free application that allows students to watch videos and play simulations associated with various scientific concepts. And then finally, we can even incorporate MOOCs. This was an example of a MOOC that was provided by Brown University to particularly high school students or students aged 13 through 18 for them to explore careers in engineering. This gave them an opportunity to jump in and interact with some content, and more importantly, interact with the community in order to grasp the concepts behind what an engineering career may be. So I have a question for you. I'm a teacher, and I'm building a lesson around the societal structure of early Rome. I want my students to review some materials so that they can prepare for a collaborative project where they're going to build their own society. So what kinds of content might I search for that would be engaging, but would still ensure that my students are learning the concepts necessary so that they can go off and build their own societal structure, which is the core focus of that collaborative project. So now that we've thought beyond the electronic document from an engagement perspective, let's also talk about it from this reinforcement of key concepts or this application of key concepts, and even to the point of simulating experiences in order to develop key skills. What kinds of resources can we use, or what kinds of technologies can we use for that? Well, this is an example of a simulation of dissecting an eye. So let's say we want students to understand the basic biology behind an eye and how an eye functions. Well, rather than just reading a document or looking at some pictures, wouldn't it be great if the students can model that eye and look at information from different angles, from a 3D perspective, and be able to click on the pieces of the eye that they want to understand in that moment, or that may relate to the activities that we're challenging them with alongside the review of this content. There are hundreds of free simulations available via the web, via tablets, via mobile devices, where students can interact with 3D images, particularly in the sciences and in the social sciences. Now, we know from research that hands-on interaction actually encourages deeper learning, and students are able to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills by using these kinds of interactions while still building on the content knowledge that we want them to in order to be successful in our disciplines. So if we continue to think beyond the electronic document, we can take it as far as the creation of content. And really what the creation of content means is that we're encouraging students to collaborate with one another and to build content quite often together, or to contribute their own individual content to a larger body of knowledge or a larger body of content. So a great example of this is this Wikispaces blog, where students are posting math movies where they're explaining math concepts and how they relate to the real world. And then they're sharing this with other students all over the country and really all over the world. And Wikispaces is one of many examples of wikis where you can have students contribute that work. You could even have students contribute their work to YouTube or other social technologies, which we're going to get into in our second module in this course. So with that, we're now going to move on to the third lecture, which will be focused on how to use technology in particular to encourage student collaboration, much like we've talked about here with wikis.